Guide is what is being looked for and where. So who is looking, but we know what is being looked for, and that helps us kind of pinpoint our services for veterans on what they need and where we can better serve them. And the top three things that were looked for were food pantries, help pay for housing, and emergency food. So it's kind of surprising to us again that we see a lot of veterans looking for food when that may not be the thing that they asked for. And then we always pick the 5 organizations that are local that were most searched on the guide. And we have Creekside Mortgage with VA home loans, again, trying to stay in their homes. I just learned about out of Twin Falls, which is amazing. You may not associate them with veteran services, but they do a lot in the veteran community. We have the Idaho Veterans Network. LHC Hospice Care in Twin Falls. As you can tell, Mitzi has been traveling Idaho and spent some time in Twin Falls promoting the guide. And DAV Medical Transportation. And that is another big request we see is people asking for help getting to their medical appointments. So again, this is something we put out every month. We have some copies out on the back table, but we will be getting these to you every joining forces. Do you have any questions on that? Thank you.
How many people have gone on to the guide and tried to? Nice. Half of you. The other half of you need to get busy. It's really simple. When you go on idahoveteransguide.org, the only thing that's going to come up is the box in your zip code. There's a little explanation saying this is Idaho Veterans Guide, but punch that in and pick your zip code. Pick a zip code that lives in Chicago. Pick her zip code because it will work across the United States. It's just a really good resource, and I have more and more people telling me that they're using it even outside of Idaho because they do have relatives that they're looking at states. Yeah.
Hey, Jane, how many organizations do we have active in Idaho?
We have, for the state of Idaho, we have 2,313 local, 907 state, and 902 national. So we have access to all those programs in the state of Idaho.
So what that means when she says 2,300 something local, when you put in your zip code and you pull it up, it's going to say 1.3 miles from you, there is this resource that you're looking for. Statewide would be something like here's the DAV. It may come up as a state resource and say, you're in Post Falls and you're looking for a resource up there, and it may say their claims office is in Boise, and it's that far away. And then a national resource would be something like Wounded Warrior Project. We don't necessarily have a chapter or anything here, but it comes up as an option depending on what category you're looking for. So there are a lot on there, and we're adding more and more. Did you have something, David?
Just a question for Marissa. I can't see the numbers very well, but I think we're over 7,000 in searches. Is that right?
Yes. Well, and this is again just for July. We had 719 searches just in the month of July, and then 254 interactions. So that means not only did people look for this, 154 people connected with the program cards that they were looking at. So that is just for the month of July. But yes, searches keep going up and up.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to explain, the difference between searches and interactions.
Absolutely. And that heat map, you can kind of see exactly where Mitzi traveled last month as well. That's where a lot of these searches take place.
And just a reminder, we launched this to you, the providers, in January. We didn't start pushing it out to the public till March. So this is still in its infancy, but it's growing by leaps and bounds. So, okay, if there's no questions on the Veterans Guide, I will go into our program. We have a lot of resources for education here in the state of Idaho. And there's really no reason that somebody shouldn't be using their GI Bill or passing that on to their kids, or whatever the situation is. There is somebody to help you. We may end up having another education joining forces because I could not get everybody on the list. I am going to just point out a few people in the room right now before we get started on our speakers. Online, we've got Jeremy Goto. He's with Grand Canyon University. They're an online university that you can get your credits. You can use your GI Bill and things. Jeremy is local here at the university. They're based out of Arizona, but he is somebody that's usually at these meetings and stuff. He couldn't make it this morning. So we also have, I'm going to point out Sean Hunter. He is the director of, what is it?
For this group, military program.
Military programs.
There's from Boise State University. There's a bunch of other Boise Staters that are running.
Yeah.
Too.
And Sean is the colonel in the Idaho National Guard. And, oh, and colonel. So not to just anybody otherwise. So he has been a great resource. You've been with joining forces almost at the beginning. We've known each other over 10 years, so that's great. And then we also have John Haubacher, and he is with the Student Service Center, Veteran Student Service Center at BSU.
So I'll go with GI Bill and mostly.
Yeah, and if you haven't been over there, they've got a nice relaxing place for veterans and things, but we'll have him as a guest one of these times. And then the other person that I wanted to point out is Janelle. Here, oh, there you are. Janelle is with the TRIO program through the University of Idaho, and we'll talk more about TRIO probably down the road. But if you've heard of TRIO or you're looking at doing something in Idaho, Janelle's local here, and talk to her afterwards. Okay, so going right into our program, we're going to start off with the VA's, I always say voc rehab because that's what it was for so many years, but it's veteran readiness and employment. And Leslie Homer, if you would like to come up, she is one of the counselors here in Boise at the VA. And the reason we've got VRNE and Department of Labor here today, education and employment go hand in hand. For the VRNE program, a lot of people don't know, but you can utilize it if you're as low as 20% service connected. So there's a lot of things that open up with this the veterans don't know about. So I want to make sure you guys all know about it. So Leslie, thank you.
Welcome, everybody. So this slideshow is quite lengthy, so I'm going to skip quite a bit of it because I only have 10 minutes. So clearly you've seen our name has changed. We used to be Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment. We are still VRNE, but we are now Veteran Readiness and Employment. All of this rebranding has been a change because we still call ourselves Voc Rehab Counselors. We're still VRCs. So we kept the same acronym, which is great. Our new, well, lots of changes in the office. If you guys are familiar with VRNE, we lost our previous division chief. He's gone on to Milwaukee. We now have an acting division chief, David Maxwell, if you've met him. And we are in the process of turning over our staff, and we're getting 5 new people. So when I say new people, they could be new with no experience, or they could be coming from other Voc Rehab offices with lots of experience. So I have to preface all of the changes in our office. Please be patient with us because we have large caseloads now with new people coming on board. Next slide, please. So, one more. There we go. Okay. So the purpose of, I'm just going to say Voc Rehab. Old habits die hard. So to assist eligible and entitled veterans with service-connected disabilities and an employment handicap to prepare for, obtain, and maintain a job. That is the skinny on what VRNE is. We are an employment program. We do have education attached to us. So we're slightly different than GI Bill. We have many more laws and kind of the tighter restrictions on what we do. But I'm going to go through some of this so that you get a kind of a feel for what the process is, how people get into the program, what we do, and how we kind of wrap it up and consider somebody
rehabilitated. Odd word. Okay, key services, achieving and maintaining suitable employment, gaining independence and daily living. Vocational counseling and planning, that's probably the most important thing that we do. All of us as VRCs are masters in counseling or rehabilitation counseling. So we do what's called brief solution focused counseling. We do not do diagnosis and ongoing treatment, but the vocational counseling and planning, education and vocational training, those are probably the most important pieces that we do. Monthly living allowance, you've probably heard BAH, tools to accommodate a program. So some of the differences with GI Bill, we pay for everything that's required of a student in a program that's approved through VRNE. So anything that's required of any other student in a program, VRNE will pay for. To include tools, computers, you know, what do you need? Not just what does everybody have, but what do you need as an individual? Job seeking skills, that's pretty important, that's in our name. And then independent living. So independent living is when your disabilities are so severe that you're not returning to work. Independent living assists with, we work hand in hand with the HISA grants, with specially adapted housing to make sure that people can safely get in and out of their house. We're in collaboration with SAH. They do a bigger part of the haul, but certainly as part of independent living, if that can improve somebody's access to the community, then we can move them into VRNE, into a training plan and potentially go to work. Next. Eligibility must have an honorable discharge or an other than honorable discharge and have a service-connected disability rating of 10%. Here's the piece on 10%. You have to have what's called a serious employment handicap if you have a 10% service connection. And that service connection has to be the main reason why you have an impairment to employment. So difficulty returning to work. The 20% and above you have to have what's called an employment handicap. And that's just a basic impairment. But otherwise, 10%, we don't see very many people with 10%. I don't know how much you guys work in the claim system, but not many people have 10% service connection. We don't see them as often. Active duty that are in the IDES program. So if you're within 6 months of discharge, you can come into VRNE. We just cannot provide any payment for services until you actually have your DD 214 and been discharged. Next. I don't know if you guys want to hear this part. This is from some of the details of basic eligibility. If you're discharged after January 1st of 2013, prior to 13, you have 12 years to use voc rehab. So that's 12 years from the notification of your first disability compensation. The next is after January 1st, 2023. Then you have basically no 12-year. It does not expire. We do have 48 months of entitlement. In entitlement, we need 48 months of education benefits that are attached. Longer than 48 months would be continuing in case management and planning, et cetera. But 48 months of entitlement just means the months of education benefits, and those can be extended in certain circumstances. We just talked about this one, next one. Okay, employment handicap. It's present when all of the following exist when a veteran has a vocational impairment, a service-connected disability contributes in substantial part to the impairment, and he has not overcome the effects of the impairment to employability. That's a lot of VA stuff. We basically, when we're looking at employment handicaps, we are looking at your education, your previous military history, any jobs that you've had civilian prior to the military, after, and then we also look at your service-connected disabilities and include your non-service connected disabilities. So that's in returning to employment. That could be anything from your access. Can you access your home? Can you leave your home? Any kinds of other things that are still pending, we also take those into consideration. We would consider those non-service connected disabilities. Next.
Let's say a veteran has a 50% disability for a TBI. They find it very hard to concentrate, that sort of thing. Can you give us an idea of how you would walk that veteran, say that example?
Sure. So the percentage itself is not the piece that we look at. We look at the actual rating. We will look at treatment records, service treatment records, not so much. We look at VA records if you're being treated at the VA medical center, or even Community medical records, if those are provided, we'll take those into consideration. But for a TBI, as an example, depending on what the VA has said or any of their providers, we look at what are the factors that led to the rating, because veterans come in and say, this is what's happening. And then the medical professional will say, and this is the evidence that says yes or no to that. But we have to look at those factors in terms of how does that impact your ability to get or keep a job? And if 50% for a TBI might be more severe for one person than it is for somebody else, because there are so many other contributing factors. There are things like your previous education, previous work skills. What do you want to do? I would say, you know, if your brain injury is so severe that you can't remember your phone number, or you're not driving, that would be a difference than somebody who's saying, well, if I just had a little bit of an accommodation, I could memorize this and I can go to school. And then we have to weigh those factors and then make a determination. Because again, this is an employment program. So we say, how does this TBI affect your ability to get or keep a job? And then we go through the rest of our criteria to determine one, entitlement, and then two, what will you do for planning?
And as far as the job say they want to do something that's probably out of their capabilities, that's part of what you do is kind of counsel them that, you know, with your capabilities, you can fall into maybe these jobs, we can help you with that, but.
Correct, yes. The VA, we operate under what's called a suitable vocational goal. So without going through pages of laws and details of what that is, this is what I use. A suitable vocational goal for VRNE is a job that you can do, that you like, that doesn't aggravate service-connected disabilities, that exists in the labor market at a wage you're going to get out of bed for. Obviously, we've got a different economy now, but we have to take all of those things into consideration when we're talking about a suitable vocational goal. And that's where the vocational counseling and guidance part comes in. If somebody with a severe traumatic brain injury who can't remember their phone number and isn't driving and says, you know, I want to be an elementary school teacher, we're going to have a conversation about whether that's a suitable vocational goal or not. So evaluation and planning, that's kind of what you were referencing. So we assess interests, aptitudes, and abilities. We look at your service-connected disabilities. The labor market's very important. We use the Department of Labor. And if folks don't know, we have a very close relationship with the Department of Labor, but we also stole one of their people and brought them into VRNE as an employment specialist. So if you're familiar with Dave Howerton, he's now on our staff in-house as an employment specialist. And we just could not be happier to have somebody with his experience with VRNE and just his experience in the labor market. So we rely on him very heavily to get us labor market information, resume development, job searching, all of the things that really encompass from beginning to the end of a person's case in VRNE. So
It was a huge loss for labor, but a giant
Yes.
win for
Yeah. we were
VRNE.
the only station in the country that did not have an employment specialist ever. So this is the first time we've had this position, and it's really been wonderful. Wonderful for veterans too, to access somebody who's in-house who has access to all of our information at the same time. So interest, aptitudes, and abilities. I just want to touch on that real quick. So as voc rehab counselors, we're constantly evaluating people's progress. We're looking at what are you interested in. We have a standardized test that mostly across the country is used. It's called the Career Scope, and that looks at aptitudes and interests. And then it gives us a nice profile that then we interpret, and we use that as kind of a guide to determine what would be a suitable vocational goal. We also take into consideration then your abilities. So that's what I mentioned earlier. Service-connected disabilities, non-service connected disabilities, then to include everything like your education, your work experience, what do you want to do, etc. Next. If entitled to benefits and services, the veteran service member will work with the VRC to develop a personalized rehabilitation plan. So we have 5 tracks. Probably the one that you hear the most is the education track, the long-term services. Most people are getting retrained, bachelor's degrees, associate's degrees, certificates, you name it. Reemployment, we don't really use that as much. That's for people in the Guard who had left their jobs to serve active duty, came back and lost their job potentially. Rapid access to employment is very similar. That's for folks who come in, they're already trained. They just need a resume and some job seeking assistance, and we can get them into employment. Self-employment also not used as often. We do that, but we work hand in hand with workforce consultants, SBA, SCORE. There's quite a few other federal organizations in Seattle that we work with for veterans who have questions about how to develop a business plan, how to even develop a business idea. We get them connected with those federal organizations. And then independent living, like I mentioned earlier, that's for veterans where their service-connected disabilities are so severe that they're not going back to work. Sometimes we know that right away, just based on their rating or based on reading their medical information. And sometimes we have to determine that through other evaluations that can take a little bit, they take a little while, but we also don't do as much independent living either because that's being taken care of by the SAH grant or our HISA grant. Okay. Comprehensive vocational evaluation, that's a big piece. Are we running out? We running out? Okay. We basically do a ton of stuff. You can see it online. I don't know what, we just do. I think that VRNE is probably by far the most comprehensive program on the planet. We assist veterans in selecting suitable vocational goals. We follow them all the way through to employment. We consider successes sometimes just somebody coming into the office and hearing information. And then they can go off and use GI Bill if they choose to. Most people choose to stay in VRNE. We support them with BAH. They get medical services, vocational counseling and guidance through us as VRCs. Employment services doesn't cost them anything other than their time and their energy to participate. We recognize that VRNE is a voluntary program. We don't force people to do things. We don't make people do things. If they are in with us and we agree on the plan, then we continue forward until we have information that says we should do something else. Most of the time, it's a straight line. People at the end are employed and then they go off and do whatever they're going to do. And we rarely ever see them again, which is nice. I usually see them in the grocery store. That's about it. Do you want to open it to any questions? I don't know if there's any more slides. There probably are. The application, everybody just go to va.gov. That's where all the information is now. They can click on education. They can either get to GI Bill, Chapter 35 for dependents. They can get to voc rehab. And everything's electronic. We're trying not to take paper. We're also not seeing people in person unless people request that. Not for any other reason other than we've just been doing that for the last 2.5 years. I think that's it. The next goes into Chapter 36, which I'm not going to address today.
They may have any questions for Leslie, and we do have time. If you have questions, let's ask them.
You have to be unemployed to seek guidance or programming for you guys?
No, you can be working.
You get BAH if you're in the, after the degree and waiting for a job, like seeking job.
So yes, so as an example, let's just say you finish a mechanical engineering degree, you have a resume, you've done some job seeking services, you know what's going on. We pay 2 additional months of BAH for your job search. So we call that employment adjustment allowance, and that's just meant to defray the cost of looking for work as long as you're actively participating in the job search. It's not just 2 additional months, but that's a great question. Yeah, and it doesn't come off of your months of entitlement.
What's your current caseload?
Mine is 140. It used to be higher, but since we have Dave Howerton, we were able to shift some cases to him. The national average is supposed to be not over 125 to 1, and we would be the 1. But
So you're pretty busy.
yeah.
We are lucky that she had the time to come and talk to us today.
I'm glad this was early in the morning. Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway when I first learned about voc rehab, VRNE, is the fact that you only have to be, well, we've got 10%, but like she said, the norm is 20% or higher. If you've got a veteran that is looking to get into a work program where they're going to maybe do an apprenticeship, something like that, or they're looking for just a traditional job, have them check with VRNE and see if they qualify, because it pays for schooling, books, things like that, in addition to, and you can still use your GI Bill or that.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Yeah.
But that can get you started. Bill?
Question for you. I've got a veteran that is not rated, hasn't gotten his rating yet. And he's been told it'll take 6 months to get the rating. So needless to say, he didn't have the income. Can he still come to you and
So there's, so two things with that. If people have pending ratings, so you've put in your claim, you've had your evaluation, or maybe you're waiting for that CUP evaluation. We have this thing called a, it just escaped my mind. A memorandum rating, sorry. Most people will go to their service officers like DAV, IDVS, and then they'll ask for what's called a memo rating. And then their proposed claims can go to somebody who will look at it and say, well, looking at your medical information, we think it could be 20% or 50%. Then you can come to VRE with a memo rating. I'll be honest, it's very difficult for us as VRCs to do any planning with a memo rating. I mean, it gets you in the door and we can do vocational evaluations. We can look at all kinds of different things. But it's a little difficult for us as VRCs because we don't have the whole picture. And we wouldn't want to give out bad information and send somebody down the road with bad information. But we also can't pay them anything or send them to school until that rating is completed. But yes, the memo rating is the way in without a firm completed rating.
Hi, what's the length of time between somebody applying online at home and then actually getting in and starting the program with you?
I think right now we're at about 4 weeks from application to being seen for an initial intake. We were a couple of months ago, we were at like 8 weeks, which is very disappointing for people, I think. But yeah, I think right now we're about at 4.
Hey, Leslie will be here afterwards, so if you have additional questions, get with her and talk to her. Like I said, it was a program I had no idea about, and once I learned about it, I've sent a lot of people that way because it's just an extra step. So, okay, our next guest is Larry Zertman. He is with the Idaho Department of Labor, and he is a veteran representative. He's going to talk about some of the programs that they have in conjunction with education that we have, and then we'll have him back to talk even more in depth sometime about employment itself. So,
Hi, I'm Larry Zertman, Veterans Representative with the Idaho Department of Labor, and like Leslie said, we do work very closely together. And our goal at the Department of Labor is to take veterans and get them to work. And in that sense, we work with the VA, and we still haven't forgiven them for taking Dave Howardson away from us. A gaping hole in the Caldwell office we're still trying to fill, but we'll get past that. So, all right, let's get started. First of all, I'm going to talk about 2 programs. There's the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program and Incarcerated Veterans Transition Program. They're closely related. The first one focuses mainly on homeless veterans. The second one focuses on incarcerated veterans. There's a lot of overlap because incarcerated or formerly incarcerated veterans, when they're released, they're often, we consider them homeless. They're usually living in transitional housing. Whatever their former housing situation was, it's probably gone by the time they've been released, and they're needing help, and that's what we're there for. So, next. Okay. Let's skip that one. Okay, I'm the DBOT, the Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Specialist. And my job consists of outreach, eligibility determination, enrollment, and case management for veterans, whether they're in the incarcerated veterans program or the homeless veterans program. And our goal as far as education goes is trying to re-educate veterans as needed to get them into employment, especially if they're been incarcerated, they've been released. I have a really great success story at the end of this that'll explain all of this. So our goal is to locate the veterans for outreach. Transitional housing is a good place to find them. Homeless shelters, job fairs. We get some office walk-ins. Veterans will come in and say, I've just been released. I need to find a job. What do I do? I used to do this. Well, you can't do that anymore. A lot of times they have their history prevents them from doing what they used to do, drug abuse or some other sort of infraction. We also get referrals from corrections and parole offices, and we work with anybody that comes in. So for eligibility determination, as the DBOB, we make the determination that based on the veterans' qualifications. First of all, they need to be homeless for the HVRP program, and they also have to have other than dishonorable discharge. As long as we can verify their discharge and their housing situation, they're basically qualified.
Now, housing situation, let's say that they're couch surfing. We have a lot of veterans that are couch surfing. They don't have their own lease address or anything.
Right.
But they've got a roof over their head.
We
That fall
consider-
into your,
Yes, we consider that at risk for homelessness. They're living on their buddy's couch, they're sleeping in somebody's basement, they're sleeping in their car perhaps. They're not the stereotypical homeless person you see on the street with a backpack and a dog, but they're still homeless.
I think that's something very, very important to remember. As Marissa said, we've got a lot of people looking for housing resources. And as he said, it's not that person standing out on the street corner, asking for money. We've got a lot of veterans that are couch surfing, is what we call it. They're can stay with a friend for a week, go stay with another friend for another week, and people living out of their cars, that sort of thing. So just to be aware of that.
Oh, that's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, so they're homeless and we have to look at whether their employment is a reasonable goal because many times they have other issues, could be substance abuse, personal issues that need to be addressed. Person comes in, they want to find a job, but the truth is they're just not ready to go to work yet. And that's part of the eligibility determination that we make is what is this person's situation and will they be successful even with some extra education? And these are some of the other things we consider as far as priorities go for the participants. Are their basic needs met? Do they have shelter, food, or transportation? As you said at the beginning, the food. What's it you who said that?
Marissa was talking.
Marissa, I'm sorry. Talking about food. Yeah, food, we have veterans come in all the time, come into the Department of Labor. And they ask them, have you eaten today? And they'll say no. They don't have any food, or I don't have enough money to buy. So yeah, food is kind of a shock that is such a deficit for people because there's so many resources available, but whether people don't know that or they're not taking advantage of it, the fact is there's a lot of hungry people walking around. So we have to determine, do they have food and are there other resources met, basic needs that they need, resume help, interview help. At the Department of Labor, we have services for veterans for all of this. I do this, I help them write resumes, we help them with job interviewing skills, we help them with job searches. We have computers available that they can use because if you're homeless, you probably don't have a computer and internet service. You have that at home, you probably think nothing of it. It's just a basic service that's available to you. But for a lot of people, they don't have a computer. They don't have internet. So we offer that service as well. And then we partner with other agencies. We have other programs within the Department of Labor. We have a WIOA program, vocational rehab, employment. If I can't help the veteran specifically, I can refer them to other programs. We work a lot with Department of Health and Welfare, especially for homeless veterans. And we have to have a plan, an employment plan. It's not enough to walk in and say, I want to be a space shuttle pilot. You got money to pay for that? It has to be a realistic goal, something the person can actually do and find work. And we have a surprising number of people who come in with, they don't say space shuttle pilot, but they'll have an unrealistic goal. And I know Leslie knows what I'm talking about. It's like, I'm just going to demand their expectations because I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. Next. But if we have an employment plan, then we can begin enrollment in them to verify. First of all, we verify the character of their discharge. As I said, it needs to be other than dishonorable. We do that with the DD 214, verify their home situation. With that, we document an employment plan, we coordinate with the training provider or an employer, and then complete the seemingly endless documentation that goes along with all of it. Okay, next.
Might skip through move forward through some of this.
Okay. I'm a former teacher. Start talking. Sorry. Okay, case management. Once we get them trained, then we go through case management. We follow them for a year to make sure that they're successful in employment and they're going to be all right going forward. And we'll modify their plans or employment goals as needed to make sure that they're going to be successful. Thanks. These are some of the paid services that we do.
I think this is really important, because it really ties into
Yeah,
the.
on the job training, this is the whole education component right here. Occupational skills training, apprenticeships, upgrade and retraining. We can provide ones for tools, fees, specific work clothing, boots for construction. They need boots, they need clothes for working outside. Sometimes they need their own tools if they're going into construction. We can help with that. We provide supportive services. And we can help with transportation. Maybe the car needs to be fixed so they can get to work. We can work with them on that. Childcare, vehicle repairs, maintenance, and rent.
So let's say we've got someone that, they've got a lead on a construction job, but, they need the tools, they need the clothing and things. Can they still come to you, even though they don't have maybe a job offer, but they've got this lead, but they need this additional,
We need to have a job offer. We need to have a solid job. offer
Okay.
To say that
so if they,
you have this job offer, all we need to do is get you some tools and work boots and you can go to work next week.
okay, so they don't have to, find the job through you. If they come to you, they already have a job offer,
Yeah.
you can help them with this.
Or sometimes we will help them find the job. They walk in and say, I used to do construction. I'd like to get back into that. We can help connect them to an employer, which construction's a good field to get into right now. And we already know if they're going into construction, say you've just been released from IDOT. You're gonna need boots, you're gonna need tools, you're gonna need some other resources to start this job, and we will help them.
So again, kind of a non-traditional thing, if somebody already has that job offer, but then they've got these other barriers, the Department of Labor and the DevOps are a really good resource to help with some of that.
Yeah, that's, I'm the deep out there. One story I wanted to tell you last week, no, 2 weeks ago, I talked to a young man in Caldwell. He came in, he'd just been released from IDOT, former US Army soldier. Had been a truck driver at a CDL, been incarcerated, his CDL qualifications had expired. He came in because he heard the Department of Labor had a program that could help him get recertified and get his CDL back. He had a good discharge, he was living in transitional housing, enrolled him in the program, connected him with Stage Truck Driving School in Caldwell. They had the exact program he needed to get recertified. He went through the classroom training, did the driving portion. I just got an email Monday of this week that he completed all of examinations, passed with 98% average in all of his examinations. He has a CDL again. They're working to put him into a truck driving. And I talked to the young man. I called him up to make sure everything was good. And he was just ecstatic that this program had turned his whole life around. A couple of months ago, he just got out of prison, didn't know what he was going to do. But thanks to this program, he's got his CDL back. He's going to get a job. Things are going to turn around for him. He's going to go forward in life. And that's really the goal. We want to see success stories like that. The program is good. The program works. Any questions?
Any questions?
Yes.
If we hear from employers who are looking to hire veterans, would we connect them with Department of Labor as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You can just give me a call.
Match the employer with them.
Yeah.
What's the age demographic of the clients that use these services? What's the age range? Like, do we see more 20-year-olds or 50-year-olds? Like, what's the?
Sadly, there's a wide age range. The guy, the story of the truck driving guy, he was in his early 30s. I've worked with guys that are 60, 70 years old and just got out. Trying to get a job. So, sometimes it's something, a tough situation, but we see all age groups. Young to old.
I have a quick question on the incarcerated, to qualify for the incarcerated veterans grant. Do they have to have served a certain amount of time in prison, or could they have been in the Ada County Jail for 90 days?
They could have been.
Okay, is there like a minimum? Okay, so say, somebody got arrested this weekend for DUI, spent 3 days in the claim?
No, that would.
Okay, so,
It depends on the series of the infraction.
okay,
How long they've been.
okay, sounds good. Okay, any other questions for Larry?
Do you support veterans finding employment that are just veterans that are not incarcerated or not homeless?
Oh, absolutely. They come in and if you're a veteran, haven't been incarcerated, you're not homeless, but you need some help with your resume, you can come in the office, we'll help you find jobs. Absolutely.
Wherever there's a Department of Labor office in the state of Idaho, which we've got Post Falls,
Falls, Idaho Falls, Lewiston. Caldwell.
Pocatello.
Pocatello.
Okay, anywhere there's a Department of Labor office, there is a veterans representative there. Some of them have two. And is there anybody over in Caldwell?
No. no.
Okay, there will be
I
someone
go
in
to
Caldwell.
Caldwell on Tuesday, that's Leslie's fault. I go to Caldwell on Tuesdays, and my partner from Boise goes on Thursday. So that's how we're supporting.
So it's not
Caldwell.
just for here, but everywhere.
What is transitional housing?
A halfway house.
Halfway house? Where do they get their food? And things when they're halfway house?
There's food pantries a lot of times.
Is that? Are those? How many people are housed in this specific transition? I couldn't tell you that.
It really depends on the facility, and, we don't have time to go further into that right now, but, if you want to talk to Keith Miller here, he can talk to you a little bit more about that.
Okay.
And, that's a good topic for us to have for a meeting is homelessness and the different resources out there and things, so. Okay, thank you very much, Larry. Okay. Next, we have Ken Holiday and Ben Blake. They are with the Veterans Upward Bound program at Boise State University. And Veterans Upward Bound has been part of joining forces since day one. Many of you probably knew Mark Heilman. Ken took over from Mark when he retired. And this is just a really good program, especially if you're a veteran that you're kind of worried about going back to school. Can I do all those math classes and that English? So Ken, take it away.
Right here is best. Thank you.
So I need my mark. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here today. My name is Ken Holiday. There we go. Veterans Upward Bound. So our program for veterans, we are the best first place to begin your academic journey. We're the great place for the veteran of any demographic, early 20s, late 60s, and we've had them all in our offices this last week to help navigate the academic system, whether that's to pursue, our goal is to set them up for academic success in pursuit of their academic goals. Could be a 2-year degree, it could be a certificate, it could be a license, it could be a 4-year degree. It depends. George is a graduate of our program right there. I know he's up here pretty soon. Our AOR is from Eastern Oregon down to Twin Falls. That's where we work. Our colleagues at Idaho State go take the other part of the eastern part of the state. There are 65 veteran upward bound programs in the United States. Our sweet spot, Mitzi mentioned, we've got free math tutoring. We've got free English tutoring. We do a lot of different services for veterans. In the terms of the tutoring, our tutors can meet the veteran when and where they want to be. It can be online, weekends, nighttime, or in our office. We physically sit on Boise State University. Our grant is funded through the Department of Education, not VA, not DOD, but it's through Department of Education. Boise State is our host, they sponsor. So we sit there. It's a great place to sit. Actually, most of the veterans who we support are going through TVCC or CWI. We also can work with CSI. But most of the veterans we serve are not at Boise State. We also make a big thing, we help with referrals. It could be to Mission 43 for people coming back home. We had a guy yesterday, a Navy guy coming back home to the Treasure Valley, but he's been away for 10 years. We haven't signed up for Mission 43. It's on our in-processing checklist, Mission 43. For those who want to pursue Pell Grants and work on their FAFSA to go to education, we immediately refer them to Janelle and her team, who are just right down the road. So like them, we are a TRIO program, again, Department of Education funded. On campus, so yes, we do sit on Boise State. This week, last week, coming up to Boise State's about to begin. Another one of those great services we do. My colleague Ben here, Ben Blake, he has a Marine Corps background, I'm Air Force background. Ben will give them a tour. A lot of veterans this week, he'll tour them, he'll get their schedule and help them print it out. They'll walk from classroom to classroom, facility to facility. And the sense of relief for a veteran who has not been on a college campus is amazing. The physical, I understand now. From this building to that building, they'll go into the classrooms. That's a small step. And again, that's for the Boise State folks. But it's a big deal. It really matters. We don't do GI Bill, but we can connect with John, or make those other referrals too. Again, the best first place we can help with resume writing as well. We can help with career assessments. We have an opportunity to do some basic career assessments where that first step, that first stop. And skills learning. How do you learn? How does one learn? Everybody learns differently. I've got 4 kids. They all learn totally differently. One can read a book and it's locked in. One has to see a video. One has to get hands-on. Everybody learns differently, but we'll help veterans with that. We've started working with the Department of Labor, so we've had some people from the incarceration program and to success. They had not done academics in a long time, and again, we're that great first step. We've got a lot of folks right now working through the Boise State. That's just that time of year right now.
September's TVCC.
Yep, September will be at TVCC. There's a very strong veteran program working with TVCC, the Flight Sciences program. So you can't get in your 2-year Flight Sciences program for either rotary or fixed wing programs and not think you have to do any math. There's a lot of math involved. Our tutors ahead of time, we're pre-enrollment. Our tutors ahead of time will help prepare them. So the veteran's not wasting their time or their GI Bill on relearning stuff, or now I'm in school, now I got a family, starting a new life, and now I can learn some other math stuff. Work with us ahead of time and our math tutors, again, nighttime, weekend, in person, Zoom. Get up to speed, save that time, save your GI Bill, and we can save them from having to do remedial math classes when going into college or university. Same thing, lineman school. You want to go get a certificate and a license at lineman school? Huge at the School of Meridian. Big program. Veterans coming from all over the nation for that program in Meridian, Idaho. There's a long board to be going to that lineman school. They just climb on a pole. There's, the flow of electricity, the math, and all the same thing. We can help veterans prepare for that on the math side. Some folks haven't written a paper in a number of years. You can start out again with an English paper, learn how to do 5-paragraph essay, just kind of the basic, work on some punctuation, whatever. If you haven't done it, sharpen up those tools. Ben, what am I missing?
Per Department of Ed, our target demographic is individuals who are low income, individuals who are first generation college students, and technically they're supposed to live within our service area. So Malheur County, Canyon, Ada, Elmore, and Twin Falls. But that aside, we don't believe in telling a veteran no, because that's a really bad way to start out their post-service journey. We can't serve active duty, but we can serve veterans, guard, reserves. If you know somebody who's on active duty is getting ready to get out, we're a great connection. And if we will provide services, even if we can't count them for the purpose of our grant, if we can't count them for our grant, we're going to find other resources that we can connect them with. So easiest example, somebody's getting out from Mountain Home and they plan to move back to Southern Missouri. I'm going to call up my friends at the VUB in Southern Missouri and tell them, hey, I've got a service member who's coming to you. And then the last piece is, just because they live here doesn't mean they have to go to school here. So if they live within one of our 5 service counties, but they decide to go to either online school or something like that, as long as they are in our area while we are serving them, that's the big piece for us. It doesn't matter where they go to school.
Again, strong program, and it's all free. It's all free. So if a veteran, we had some other folks come in, hadn't done anything in years, been out of the military for 10 years, come in mid-40s, banged up, tired, from jumping from 20 years ago, been doing construction. Hey, I'm in my late 40s. I am tired and I don't want to do this anymore. We can help prepare them. Doesn't matter the gap in service at all. Again, we've had people in our office in the late 60s and as well as the early 20s just recently. So.
It's a great program, great people over there. So, okay.
All right.
We'll send out the link to their website and all their contact information.
All that will be
the QR code.
We have a QR code up here, a website posted. just the first steps, how we do it, just when somebody comes to us, so they'll go to our website, we have a sign up here, little application, it's simple. How we start that, we receive that, then we got to start with a phone call. All right, where are you? Who are you? What's your goal? What do you want to do? And then we just, from there, set up services. There might be a a math assessment, maybe an English assessment. And that just helps our tutors figure out how to go forward. So.
And if somebody's already going to school, they're having trouble, they didn't know about you, but they can come to you mid-semester if they need.
We are,
help.
we want to help everybody we can, but we are a pre-enrollment.
Pre-enrollment, okay.
We are
I think that's
pre-enrollment.
Changed a bit over
Yeah.
the years, so,
I
okay.
can help with that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like,
that's
we're-
good to know.
We won't turn them away. We're just gonna direct them to the best resource, but
Yep.
our best purpose is to prepare them for day one of class.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay, well, thank you very much. Hey, next we're going to have Allison Yarrow from Mission 43. And I can tell that she's excited already because she doesn't like speaking in front of people. So she's gonna go, oh, our time is short, so I won't have to speak as long.
And I don't have a slideshow, so you're just gonna have to listen to me and be super bored. And for everyone that is absolutely wonderful in this room that has heard me speak probably too many times, I'm sorry, you get to hear my spiel again. I'm Allison Garrow. I'm the Education Director for Mission 43. You have heard Mission 43 mentioned several times in this room already because we have a number of services. But I do lead the education side of things. We serve education, employment, and engagement. What is Mission 43? What is Mission 43 education? So Mission 43 is a statewide nonprofit initiative of the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Family Foundation. And the reason why that's so important is because all of these services that we provide are completely free to our members, including our education services. And with that, we serve veterans, we serve transitioning military members, active duty, guard, what have you, and we serve military spouses. So everything that we do for our service members, we do for our spouses as well. We have very specific education programs up here. There's a couple, but we do have three main focuses: project management, cybersecurity, and entrepreneurship. And my goal is not to reinvent the wheel here, but that wheel on your Porsche is a little bit different than the wagon wheels that we cross over into the West with. And our education programs are unique. They're designed to lead directly to employment from some of Idaho's top industries and highest paying industries. We've met directly with employers to design these programs, to identify these needs, and they're short-term education options. So completely different than a college type program. Our project management program is a PMP professional certification course. And for those that know, and for those that don't know, PMP is project management professional certification that's issued by PMI, which is the global standard on project management. Project management certification is highly recognized, especially in the Treasure Valley, but definitely statewide. It is an expensive program. It's about $3,000 if you went in today and walked off the street and wanted to get quality education all the way into certification. So we provide scholarships for a very specific programming to earn this PMP certification. We host 4 cohorts a year in person all over the state of Idaho. Typically, that looks like 2 in Boise, 1 in East Idaho, 1 in North Idaho. That can change, but that's our typical schedule. We serve up to 15 participants per cohort. This is an application cycle. You don't just get the dollars handed to you, but if you put forth the effort, if you're eligible, if this is something that will truly advance your career, then yes, this program is for you. And it's a 4-day course. It's intensive, 35 hours crammed into 4 days, but we bring in one of the best PMP instructors. He's an authorized training partner. And if I'm speaking Greek to you, I'm sorry, there's a lot of information on our website there. And we have a couple of PMPs in this room, at least 2 that I see, that have gone through this program and can tell you all about it and what it did for their careers.
If you've taken the PMP course, raise your hand. We've got John and Davin.
Myself. And then we have cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, we know this buzzword, right? And it's getting major. And there's so many different ways to enter cybersecurity, and not one way is right for every single person. Sometimes it's college, sometimes it's experience, But what is for sure is that employers are placing this incredible value on certifications, and we recognize that. We've seen that. We've had employers ask for it. And the downside is those certifications are friggin' expensive. So we're going to help with that. We partnered with SANS Institute. SANS is the global standard on cybersecurity training. And the reason why they're the global standard is because there's hands-on labs, there's actual instruction that gets you to use the tools that you would be using if you were in the job doing the job. It's a 6-month-long program. It's designed to get 3 GIAC certifications. The first 2 certifications are your foundational, let's learn cybersecurity, right? Because the goal is for you to not have to have experience in cybersecurity. Maybe you're upskilling, maybe you're reskilling, but you want to get a job in cybersecurity and this is not something you've done before. How do you do that? We go through this process. Foundational certifications. The first one is a GFACT. Again, I'm speaking Greek. There's a lot of information out there about it on our website. Just go there. GSEC is the second one. That's kind of, I know if there's anyone cybersecurity in here, they might have something to say about it. But GSEC is kind of like CISSP, maybe like CISSP is here, GSEC is here, and it's more technical, where CISSP would be more managerial. Again, technical skills. And then the third certification is designed to lead to industry, kind of whatever you want your field in cybersecurity to be, whether that's incident handling, you want to work in a SOC, you want to do blue team, red team, purple team, whatever that looks like in the cybersecurity world. We have a certification that's going to answer to that, and our members and participants get to choose that pathway. So 3 GIAC certifications in 6 months, if the program is done on time, but things happen. That's a $20,000 scholarship. You walked in today and went to pay for it at SANS Institute. Each certification can cost you like $8,000. They're super expensive. And we don't want cost to be a barrier to our members. So again, it's an application process. We cover that cost for eligible participants. And our last one that's not mentioned, but it is along the education line of things, is entrepreneurship. So I don't know if everyone knows this, but veteran entrepreneur percentage in Idaho is quite high, even though nationally, the number of veterans that are entrepreneurs and business owners is decreasing. It used to be like 25% and now it's 10%, and that's sad, and we don't want that to happen. So how do we get our members that have a business idea the education they need to be able to feel comfortable to take that step and launch or grow their business? We have a 6-week program that is 2 nights a week in person or virtually. Again, we serve the entire state of Idaho, so we have a virtual option as well as in person. 2 nights a week, 2 hours each night. It's going to get you the foundational education to learn how to launch or grow your business. And we partner with the College of Western Idaho for that. We have an incredible facilitator. And then after that, we support you through the entire process. So with the PMP certification, you have to have continuous education units. We're going to help you get those. With cybersecurity, we want to help you get your continuous education units. We want to help you find a job. With entrepreneurship, we want to help you gain those tools. It's not just you've participated in the course, bye. No, you've participated in each course and we help you along the way, whatever that looks like. So we connect you with our employment team. We connect you with further learning opportunities, and we're just here to support. So with all that said, what questions do you guys have?
Any questions for Allison?
No. Okay.
Leslie?
Are you GI Bill approved, or could you get GI Bill approved?
We do not take any funding whatsoever. So all of our programming is free, and our goal is to make sure that they can use the GI Bill for other things. So that's why these short-term certification options. So 4-day PMP course, 6-week entrepreneurship, 6-month cybersecurity. Now, SANS Institute is GI Bill certified. So if you wanted to take our cybersecurity program, that's a 6-month certification ordeal. Those certifications translate directly into their bachelor's and master's programs, and that would take out time to completion, and SANS is GI Bill approved. So we don't want to take GI Bill dollars. We want to fund those opportunities for people to be able to save those otherwise. And then we have more programs on the horizon. So this isn't it, but these are our 3 core areas.
And how do veterans get into your program?
Super easy. Mission43.org. Sign up, become a member. Membership is free. We have some pretty awesome swag, and that gets sent out. And then going to our page, applying for the program. That's it. As long as there's eligibility requirements on the pages, those are listed out very clearly. As long as they meet those, then that's how to get in.
We have you come to our office once we get fully staffed.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Okay, Mission 43 is one of my favorite organizations. Allison just hit on the education part of it, but there's so many more facets to it. But again, all of their services are free, and you're looking PMP $3,000 for that course. And then the fee to take the test, to be certified after you've taken the course, the cybersecurity. It's all free, and not just for the veteran that qualifies, but also for veteran spouses. So many times the spouses are forgotten about. They traveled the world and supported their soldier, airmen all of these years, and they finally retire or come back home after even 5 years. And it's difficult for them to find a job because they've moved around so much and they don't have an employment history. Mission 43 is here to help with that. Okay, next we have George Nickel with the Wyatt Foundation. And they are unique. They do a lot of things, but I'm going to have George talk to your education benefit.
So what we are is we're a nonprofit here in the Treasure Valley, but we are expanding nationally. We have veterans out of state right now. We focus on veterans that are utilizing some form of education, especially education as they define it, to move into long-term careers. Right now, we're supporting veterans who are in education, everything from like IT certifications, trades apprenticeships, associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees. We have 4 in medical school, 2 in doctoral programs. But like as long as they're in an educational plan, they're within our program. What we do is we have a number of tenants that we focus upon as they're making that transition through their education. We focus on making them better, more marketable when they're entering into their careers. We focus on professional development. Once a month, we do a seminar where we cover a lot of different like soft skill topics, communication, conflict management, even like personal skills like budgeting, investment, things that helps them grow as an individual and helps their future success. The other thing we recently started at our monthly seminars is we have a lot of national connections with different companies and corporations because we are a nonprofit. And if you work in nonprofits, you know it's all about fundraising. So we have made a lot of connections nationally. So what we do is at the beginning of every seminar, we have a national speaker come in and talk about the different industries nationwide. Because sometimes we be too focused on what's in front of them and they miss out on opportunities on a much broader scale. You know, if I say the term Cummins, everybody thinks diesel engines, but really Cummins is an international, like Fortune 500 $1 billion industry. And they have an entire corporate side to their business. So those things we want to introduce them to. We do mentoring. Everybody gets hooked up with a professional mentor specific to their career field and a community mentor who sticks with them their entire time in the program. It just helps engagement, helps become more involved in the community. We do a lot of networking because we want them to meet the right people in the industry they're going into. Nothing's worse than a veteran trying to get a foot in the door and they call it phone tree and they get a 1-800 number. We want to make that personal introduction wherever they're looking to get into. We do community impact projects. We want them to understand how to manage a project. We want to give back to the community. And again, it helps with that networking because they have to go out and make, connections in the community. We do school supply drives, we do blood drives. We did also good supplies for veterans transitioning out of homelessness. Just a few examples of our projects. We do, what do you call it? Sorry. We have an alumni program. So anybody that's been through our program, we contact them at a minimum twice a year, just to keep how they're doing, any resources they need. And a lot of them now are coming back to become mentors for those in our program. We do some financial supplementation. So as long as they're in good standing in our program, they're eligible for a monthly educational grant just to offset, as much that inflation nobody wants to talk about. Gas is over $4 a gallon again, those types of things. School nickel and dime you to death. So anything that they can get in their pocket to help them out. And then along with the financial supplementation, we keep an emergency grant funding for everybody in our program. So if things come up, they might be interested if they're free, continuing their education, we can immediately address that need. Number one thing I spend it on is like car repairs. Just, I guess with new cars now, if you break something, it's like $2,000. So those are just the skills or the services we try to provide. It's open to any veteran here in the Treasure Valley, as long as you're in some type of educational plan. And it's really about an educational plan as they define it. We've had them like, if you're familiar with the company New Dawn that does IT training, they have different programs that they get enrolled in for like IT certifications, networks and stuff like that. It's really, we're looking at creating it around them and what they need.
Any questions for George and the Wyken Foundation?
Missy, I don't have a question, but I want to remind everybody, I know he's going to hate this. 14 years ago and 11 days, joining forces for Treasure Valley Veterans started. And it started because of this guy and an encounter that we had on July 30th, 2009. There were 3 people who showed up at that meeting in support of him while he couldn't speak for himself. Marty Bernard, Tom Starczyk, who used to work at the family support programs here, and a woman by the name of Norma Yeager. But I want you to know that we celebrate this organization today and its rich membership because of this guy right here. Not only what he does at Wyken, but what he has done for all veterans in the Treasure Valley.
George didn't Marty didn't call me, telling me to stupid, I wouldn't have a job that I didn't take. Quickly on the Wyken, I was the community mentor for one of their warriors, and she was in the culinary program, and it was an online thing. But she had to make meals each week and display things. Her refrigerator went out, and Wyken was able to use their emergency grant to replace her refrigerator because that was an essential part of her education. So it runs the gamut things. So, okay, we have run out of time almost. We have 3 minutes. I'm going to invite Shannon Lambert up, and Shannon is with our agency, Idaho Division of Veteran Services. She drove in from Payette today, so I feel terrible, but we'll have her back. But I want everybody to meet Shannon. And if you want to, we don't have time to go through all your slides, but if you wanted to talk a little bit about what the education department does in IDVS, just broad strokes. Okay.
So we are the state approving agency for the state of Idaho. So we are funded through the VA. We are not the VA. We work for a department for the state of Idaho. What we do is approve the programs that VSU offers to our student beneficiaries or military members and their spouses or their children. Then the nutshell of what we do approval of programs. We do compliance visits to those programs, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we work with other agencies and people to make sure that they are aware of the GI Bill and the benefits that are available to beneficiaries. We do get a lot of calls from beneficiaries, and we do help them navigate the system because it's mostly online now. We help them connect with the right people for their questions, and we can do some field work with them, and well, not field work, we can help them with their benefits and help them ask the right kind of questions. Sometimes that's what trips them up. They don't know the questions to ask. So we do a gambit of things, but our primary task is to approve programs, to do compliance visits, and make sure that the programs that are offered for the GI Bill in the state of Idaho are appropriate for the GI Bill. That is, in a nutshell, what we do. So we don't work with the beneficiaries. We do not approve their benefits. That's the VA. And we're not the VA. We are the approving agency for Idaho.
Okay. Any quick questions for Shannon, or she'll be here, you can speak with her afterwards, but we will have her back at our next education program. So just quickly, we got breaking news on the computer, and it's not like the breaking news they have on the ticker tape sometimes that you're like, that wasn't breaking news. The VA just announced that if you're aware, the PACT Act was passed last August 9th of last year. And if you filed for PACT Act benefits up through yesterday, your claim was backdated to the start of the PACT Act. So essentially you had that whole year. Am I saying this right, Josh? Okay. After yesterday, so beginning today, if you filed a claim for the PACT Act, your filing date was whatever day you filed it. So today, tomorrow, next week, whatever. Because they were inundated with so many requests, right now we got an announcement. They have extended filing for the PACT Act to be backdated until Monday, the 14th. So we've got a couple more days. I'm not speaking for the VA, but it wouldn't surprise me that there's going to be so much traffic that even that could change. But if you haven't filed a claim for the PACT Act, get with a service officer. They probably, because they're going to be so inundated, can't do a full claim, but they can file an intent to file, which puts a place marker there with your name on it, and then that claim can be filed. So that's good through Monday the 14th. So, and you can still file for the PACT Act. I mean, it's going to go on forever. It's just that it'll backdate it so that when your claim does come through, you actually get paid through this whole last year. So it could be a big check for so. Hey, thank you for joining us. Our next meeting will be here Thursday, September 14th. Our topic is going to be aging veterans and the resources for them in the community, hospice, legacy corps, some different things like that. So we look forward to seeing you then. And please stick around and talk with everyone and get to know each other.